let's give you the lowdown real quick before we start to tear into this thing. This is an old Walker floor jack, possibly from the late 60s, but more than likely made during the 1970s. This is a 1.5 ton unit. There's your serial number there, and you can barely read right in here. You can barely see the 1 next to the half, so that's a 1.5 ton unit. So the old Chinese Harbor Freight floor jack finally gave up the ghost. I was trying to work on this car a while back, and I needed to raise up one side of it, and lo and behold, my jack gave out, and I'm like, well, all right, that won't do. So I thought to myself, well, I could go buy another cheap Harbor Freight floor jack. I said, no, I didn't want to do that. I could try to rebuild my cheap Chinese floor jack. I didn't really want to do that. And I thought to myself, you know what I really want? I want an old antique made in the USA floor jack. Did a little research. Walker is the brand to go with. And these are the ones you saw at every gas station across the nation for eons. So what do we have here? This one was originally branded as Napa. You can tell by the blue paint and the yellow here on the pad. Here is the shaft right over here with the Napa yellow on it. I just removed it, obviously, to get the floor jack onto the workbench. So the initial assessment I've already made, it obviously does not work. It leaks like a sieve. You pour fluid into it, it just flows out all over the place. So clearly it needs to be rebuilt. There are several floor jack rebuilding videos on YouTube, and they're probably better than the one that I'm doing, but I don't really care. I thought it would be cool anyway, so I'm going to do it. I got on the Lazar's floor jack website, and they sell parts to repair and rebuild these jacks. And this is what I bought. Mixed merchandise. Check contents carefully. Okay, well, let's do that. All right, so one-handed. Actually, that rolls really well. The bearings are not an issue, clearly. So we have a rebuild kit from Lazar's. I'll put the link in the description below. This is a repair kit for a Lincoln/Walker floor jack, and here are the various model numbers. The one in this case is 93632, I believe, is what we have here. This is the standard rebuild kit with all the O-rings, seals, check ball valves, and all that kind of stuff. This kit comes with a single 5/8 cover. I don't know why. Probably so you'll have to buy another one. So that's what I did. I bought another one to cover it, because you're going to need to get into here later on. But we'll get into that later on when we dig into this thing. And then I bought another one of these. This is the, you know what? I can't recall the name of this thing. I'll put some text in the video when I start to edit it. But it's to replace this guy right here. It's the bleed. It's the bleeder. The bleed cap. I guess you call it the bleeder cap. This is apparently an updated design. Has a nice metal body and an O-ring on it. On the Lazar's website is a PDF document on how to refurbish and rebuild and reseal these jacks. My printer ran out of colored ink, so pardon that. But anyway, here are the written instructions off of the website that I'll be using. So basically, it's pretty high level, really. It's sufficient to get the job done. So. Here I've got written instructions. I've never done this before, but it looks like fun. And I thought, well, you know what? It looks really interesting, and I think I'm going to give it a shot. Here we go. All right, first step to get the hydraulic unit out is to remove these 4 bolts here. These are 7/8, and loosen these 2 nuts. These are 1 1/4. And that is what those bolts look like. They're pretty greasy, all that hydraulic oil all over them. All right, let's go ahead and try to loosen these big ones. These are 1 1/4 inches. It's a pretty tight fit. I had a heck of a time trying to get my wrench on there. I don't think the bolt is the issue. I think it's this cheap Chinese wrench that's the problem. I'm going to need 2 wrenches. That's not doing me a whole lot of good, is it? Both of them are turning. All right, I've got it loose enough to where I can put a socket on it now. I've got an old cheap 34 millimeter. This will work now that it's broken loose a little bit. This nut is firmly affixed to this shaft. When I turn this nut, I'm turning this shaft and loosening the other nut. So the only way to remedy that, to get this thing loose, is take this one off, hammer that out, and then find a way to get that loose. I don't know. So I've got this side loose, so we're going to go with that for now and see if we can't get this hydraulic unit out. Because the instructions said just loosen it. All right, it's loose, so let's move on. All right, that was astonishingly easy. You just lift up the jack and pull the hydraulic unit out, and boom, Bob's your uncle. It's out. All right, let's disconnect these springs and continue on. All right, I'm going to use a drum brake tool to see if I can get the spring off. Probably overkill, but we'll see what happens. Too big. Well, maybe not. Hey, no, I take that back. It worked fine. Move that out of the way, dummy. All right, 2 springs removed. And we have to take this cotter pin out next. And we got to straighten out this cotter pin before we remove it. I suppose I could just cut it out and install a new one. But there's no reason for unwanted destruction. All right, we should be free. There we go. I've got to remove the pump assembly next. This is spring loaded down in here. There's a C-clip right here. So let's try to get the C-clip off without removing the pressure. It'll probably pop into our face, but let's give it a shot anyway. See what happens here. Whew, man, that was surprisingly easy. Let's try again. Screwdriver, universal tool. Sorry you can't, I'm covering it with my hand because I don't want it to explode in my face. Like that, see? All right, so there's your C-clip, okay? So that actually wasn't too hard to get off. I just used these C-clip pliers. If you don't have a set of those in your shop, go get some. All right, I'm gonna put this little C-clip off to the side where I can forget where I put it and then have to hunt for it later or maybe buy a new one. All right, have a little cover. And we have a spring. And we have another little cup here for the bottom of the spring to rest in. We got a flare nut right here. We'll have to take that off next, I guess. I don't know why I didn't do this before, but you know, I thought maybe I might get lucky with a wrench, but nah. This is a 1-inch socket. Yay for power tools. Awesome. All right, we got these 1/4 inch small bolts there that holding the universal joint on. And thankfully they're not tight. And they also have a slot for a screwdriver. There we go. There we go. All right, now that's the cover. Question is, how does this come out of here? By golly, I think you're supposed to twist it. It's amazing. It has threads on it, and you twist it. You don't pull it. Moron. It's getting a little cleaner all the while. We now have to tap this pin out. That's not working. Let's try the other side. You know, I think that's the right side to do. Yeah, one side's bigger than the other. Most definitely, one side is bigger than the other. But it's hard to tell when it's all the way down in there. Of course, if I'd done this before, I would have known. Let's move over to the vise, shall we? Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of force to get it out of there. You just got to know which direction to go. Let's pivot our vise so that the pin will drop onto the table and not onto the floor. But it fell on the floor anyway. Let's take a look at this little pin that we had to drive out, okay? You'll note that there is a rounded side, or a chamfered side. And this side looks like someone has been pounding on it. Someone has been into this jack before. And you have a nice little knurled section here to provide the press fit connection. So anyway, I tapped on this side, the chamfered side, to get it out. Okay, 3/8. This is a locking nut. Little locking nut, looks like that. And got, looks like we have a washer. And then we have a rubber seal of some sort. O-ring, seal, whatever you want to call it. Looks like 3 layers of, what are these? I saw some of these in the kit earlier. Just slip this back together so we don't lose any parts, and then we're going to continue on with the teardown. All right, we have to remove these little covers right here. They're just little press-in plugs. All right, we got a construction screw put into the hole that we drilled, and a pair of channel locks. Just kind of man up on it, and that seems to work pretty well, actually. This one's a little tougher. There we go. And the rest of the fluid runs out all over my rag. I really need to put a piece of steel on my bench. Boy, that's nasty. Thought I got all of it out of there. I guess not. Uh-oh, something fell in the jug. Let's see what that is. All right, let me show you what the nasty mess that's rolling out of this jack. Yep, that be water. So you got brown jack oil. Who knows what that oil is, to be honest with you. And a good bit of water. So I've already drained what I thought was all of it out of there. Anyway, I've got it into a bowl, and I've already messed up a bunch of rags. And all right, so I'm gonna let that drain for a few more minutes, and we'll continue on. All right, so when I tilted it up and poured the that oil into the bottle over there, this little piece fell out. All right, so another O-ring that will need to be replaced is right here. All right, up next, I'm going to get that large screw out. I'm going to use the manual impact driver. You can see somebody's already been in there trying to get to it. Somebody may have tried to rebuild this jack and failed. Or they maybe they did it a long time ago and did a poor job of it. I may be doing a poor job of it for all I know. Looks like a copper crush washer down in there. By golly, I believe it is a copper crush washer down in there. Let's turn this rascal over and see if something falls out. It's a doohickey that like goes that way and stuff. I have no idea what that is. I'm just taking things apart while the eternal supply of jack oil keeps oozing out. Every time I take a different fastener out, it creates another air hole and allows some more jack oil to come oozing out. All right, look at that. there's another screw down in there. And thankfully that one was easy to get out. Well, it's loose, let's just say that. All right, we have the plug that I just removed, and we have a spring, a really, really nasty spring. Ah, there's the check ball. It didn't fall out because there's a piece of debris in the way. So you tell me what that is and how it got down in there. No clue. More stuff falling out. We got two check balls. One's bigger and one's smaller. There is another O-ring right below that one. All right, I missed two pieces. I wasn't following the instructions. This is a very small valve, basically just a check ball, but they call it a valve in the instructions. You can see it's pretty black, and you can see wear marks on it where it was resting. Anyway, all right, and this is the cup. Okay, it's fairly corroded. So the check ball sits in that little dimple right there, and that slips way up in there, and then the spring, and then the spacer, and then the adjustment screw. So, okay, we got that out of there. Now we can move on with removing this guy. All right, so in order to get that nut off the top of that jack, I've read that is on there with 300 foot-pounds of torque. Plus, it's one of those slotted nuts. I'll show it to you in a second. So I went and got a pipe fitting, some 3/16 sheet steel, a big 15/16 nut, and some 1/4-inch bar stock. And this is what I came up with. Is it going to work? I don't know, but we're going to find out. I also have this really huge breaker bar and a 3-foot pipe to put over the top of it, and a very large socket. So we're going to see if this is going to work. 300 foot-pounds is a lot, folks. I'm holding it with pliers because I just got through welding it up. And this is the nut we have to get off. You can see where I tried to mess with it already. I tried to make this, you follow me, using an impact, and no, it did not work. We're going to give this a shot. If this doesn't work, I may have to take this in and have someone rebuild it for me. So, all right, let's give this a try. Ladies and gentlemen, that is progress. Thanks to a little bit of ingenuity and a whole lot of air power. I will have to say, this has probably been one of the tougher fasteners that I've removed. All right, so that's what we're dealing with. Got a lot of water intrusion, and we have some rust. It's so nice in there, isn't it? And we have these threads here. Let's see, what do we have down in here? It's just rusty, oily, watery mess. The threads are in good, they appear to be in good shape, however. So I think we're still in the ballpark of saving this old jack. So let's carry on. All right, we're going to give you some nitty-gritty details and show you what the inside of a really, really old jack looks like. You can see what appears to be dirt, rocks, gravel, mud, rust. Unbelievable. What do we got here? It is a, I don't know, it's a spacer, it's a ring, it's a washer. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so this thing actually came out before that did, which I don't think is supposed to happen. The stuff that's on the bottom of this is down in there. So anyway, so let me work on this. I'm trying to get that junk out of there and get this whole thing cleaned up. That's going to be pretty mundane. I'm going to do that off camera. So when you come back, all these parts will be clean and we'll be ready to begin the reassembly.